All right, let's transition to Grant Brisbee's all-quarter century team for the Giants. We'll go through the easy pickings for really quickly, and then we'll take some time with some of the ones that we disagree about. But he started the team, and he said, catcher, Benito Santiago. And then he said, just seeing if you're paying attention, because the catcher is Buster Posey, of course, on the all-quarter century team.
No debate.
Buster had for his time on the Giants, he had a 45 WAR. Benito Santiago was second with a 4.6 WAR for those 25 years.
Jeez.
Bobby Estalella actually tied for fourth with Patrick Bailey.
That's crazy.
That's how long
Estalella had some good offensive numbers for a couple of years there.
Yeah, he had some home runs.
Yeah.
And he was a big, giant, buff guy.
Yeah, he was jacked.
But by the way, AJ Przinsky was 19th in WAR with a 0.3.
You know what? I hate him so much I'd put him 20th. just because.
First base, the Belt Wars. There's not really any Belt Wars here because Brandon Belt ran away with this one. Though, JT Snow had a couple of seasons early in the 2000s, but Brandon Belt was there for since 2011 to 2022. So Brandon Belt gets the first baseman's on the all-quarter century team. Second base was kind of interesting because Jeff Kent gets it for Grant, and Kent was only on the Giants for 3 years in the 2000s. Wow. Just 2000, 2001, and 2002. Though he won the MVP.
I was going to say, I think those were his 3 best seasons. So, just good timing.
So, he was just so good that he just wins over everybody. And the second person, so the top 3 would have been just based on WAR. Ray Durham had a 10.5 WAR to Jeff Kent's 19.5. And Joe Panic had a 7 WAR. Tyro and Donovan Solano were 4th and 5th. And I was kind of wondering, I was like, what about Scudero and Freddie Sanchez? They were right behind those guys.
Look who's number 10, though. I mean, he's already broken the top 10. That's amazing.
Another easy one. He and Belt were probably and Posey were just, you just write their names down. Brandon Crawford at shortstop. No one came really second. I guess it was Aurelia because Aurelia had a really good season in 2001.
Yeah.
But the rest of the guys were Camargo, Cody Ransom, Luis Figueroa, who I don't even remember. That's how good Crow was.
Yeah.
Third base, Pablo Sandoval. So right in that zone of he comes up in 2008, and then in 2009 we're like, oh my gosh, we actually have someone who hits in the middle of the order. But Pablo Sandoval, I think that one's pretty easy too. And it's funny because, as Grant mentions, he started in the Giants system as a catcher, but who was he blocked by? Benji Molina. And then even if there was no Molina, he would have been blocked by Buster Posey. So Good job on moving to third base there, Pablo. So he only played 21 games at third base in the minors before he came up to the big leagues. That's crazy.
That's crazy considering how well he played third base.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just an athletic dude.
Yeah, just
for
an
big
athletic
guy,
dude.
Very athletic.
Throw with both arms. Just crazy. Barry Bonds, obviously in left field. Grant had a fantastic stat. He said that Pat Burrell and Alex Dickerson both hit 23 home runs as Giants left fielders in the 2000s, which is the second highest total after Bonds, who hit 37 home runs against the Padres alone in the 2000s.
Good Lord.
All right, here's an arguable one. Center field. It's a battle between Angel Pagan and Andres Torres. And I'm very interested in where you lean here with those two.
Okay. I'm an Andres Torres guy.
Okay.
Mainly because of the fact that he was there in 2010. So that's a very special meaning to me as a former center fielder. I'm just a big time Andres Torres guy. Also, nobody dresses like Andres Torres. Also, you got to remember that too. He had the jeans and the cowboy hat. Yeah, the cool look. But I liked him a little bit. I mean, what was the WAR difference on those two guys?
So if you're looking at it by best singular year, Andre Torres had a 5.3 WAR in 2010. Just a nutty season the year that they won the first World Series.
Yeah.
So Pagan's best WAR was 2012 when they won the second World Series at 4.2. His next highest WAR after that 4.2 was 1.7 in his last year with the Giants in 2016. Andre Torres's next best WAR was a 1.8 in 2009, which was the year before his crazy season. So I liked both guys. I mean, both guys had their flaws too.
Sure, absolutely.
I think I just rooted a little bit harder for Andres Torres.
Yeah.
I think he was a little bit more likable.
I think that's what it was. Pagan was cool, but he always had that kind of brooding look, and just kind of.
The other thing about Pagan is that I don't think if you watched him every day that you thought he was as good as advertised. But then, like that first season, that 2012 season, at the end of the season, you're like, okay, these numbers actually do show that he's a really good player. But he almost always seemed more disappointing than I wanted him to be. And then Torres, you just didn't know who he was. And so he's just kind of like this bolt of lightning. So he kind of overachieved to what you thought or what you were hoping. And Pagan maybe just achieved exactly or maybe even underachieved. So I'm going to lean myself for Andres Torres just because he was more memorable. And also I think he achieved more than what you thought he was going to be.
Would you say... I mean, the other one, too, the other name that we don't see in there could have been in third place. Could be Marvin Bernard. 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. Those 3 years combined, 3.1 WAR. So he could have been in there close.
Yeah, I think so. I think Grant actually didn't list the rest of the center fielders out. But you might be right. He might have been third in that list.
Yeah, I think I would still go those two guys over Bernard, but yeah, I lean towards Torres for sure.
All right, so now we go to right field, and this is the hardest one, I think, and it's basically what you want to see in your players, what you value. So he chose Mike Yastrzemski, and Mike Yastrzemski does have the highest WAR of the right fielders in the first 25 years of the 2000s at 15.4. The top 5 goes Yastrzemski, according to Grant, Yastrzemski, Randy Wynn, Hunter Pence, Ellis Burks, and Moise Alou. And so I looked up all of the numbers because what I was trying to do is I was just trying to figure out, like, how hard do I really have to kind of cheat the game to make Hunter Pence the right answer here? Because, who doesn't like Hunter Pence? Hunter Pence fell off really hard at the end there. But for 2 seasons, he was a really, really good baseball player. Now, if you go Ellis Burks only played with the Giants for 280-ish games or so. And in those 280-ish games or so, the dude did hit 60 jacks. So
yeah, right.
that helps. But he and he had a 5 WAR in the year 2000. What's crazy is he leaves the Giants in 2001, and his next 2 seasons as a 36-year-old in Cleveland and a 37-year-old, 28 and 32 jacks. This dude still had some meat on the bone there that they kind of let go. But he was one of my favorites for sure. 2000 was not only his best Giant season, it was arguably the second or third best season of his entire career at the age of 35. His best season would have been in Colorado in 96 because he hit 40 jacks, and I think he was in the top 3 of MVP. But so Ellsberg's had 2.5 excellent seasons as a power hitting right fielder. So then you go Moise Alou. Moise Alou, he had in 2 seasons with the Giants, his 38 and 39 year seasons, by the way. He had a 4.8 WAR, still hit for high average, didn't really hit for a ton of power. But I think everyone remembers kind of the faltering in the playoffs of that year, which kind of has the scent or the bad scent of Moise Alou. But yeah, he only had 2 seasons, so still a good player, but really in the twilight of his career. He would only play 2 more seasons, actually more like 1 and change with the Mets to end his career. So then we look at Hunter Pence, and this is where I was trying to work some magic here. If you include 2013 and 2014, where they win the World Series, he gets traded. He gets traded at the end of 2012, so he helps them win the World Series. Then his 2013 season is his best year as a Giants player, 27 jacks, 99 ribs. Then 2014 has another really good season, 20 jacks, 74 ribs. He plays in every single game, both of those years. And then he just falls off kind of drastically after that. But those 2 years plus the end of 2012, to me, are so much more memorable and valuable than the 6 Yastrzemski seasons that we're talking about. Now, again, I came into this exercise trying to shoehorn him into this thing and to argue against Grant, but the 2 titles have to mean something, right? Like they have to be of value there. It's not like he was the MVP of the World Series or anything, but just the fact that he was on those 2 championship winning teams and producing at that time. I think that leans me more to Pence than it does to Baby Yaz.
Yeah, that's the hard part too, because if you look at this and you go with the practice of anybody who was on those World Series teams, especially 10, 12, and 14, anybody who was on all 3 of those, you got to pretty much put them in there. But you look at Pence and you had the half a season and then a great season, half a season World Series, great season, full season World Series. But then after that, when you start adding up his WAR with the Giants the rest of the way, he's only 4 WAR behind Yaz. And Yaz hasn't been on many, hasn't been on any memorable Giants teams other than 21. And he plays a solid right field. Is a lot of Yaz's WAR from his fielding. Because that's the other thing you have to look at too. Because I'm looking at WAR on Baseball Reference, but then if you go to Fangraphs, it might be a little bit different because they calculate FWAR. I don't know. It's a total toss-up, but I'm going to lean towards Pence because of the fact without the Reverend in 2012, without the speeches, you don't win that thing, and that's valuable right there. That's worth 10 WAR right there. So that puts him above Yaz in my mind.
Yeah, you're basically taking 2 really good seasons of Pence and like a really bad season, by the way, that counts. And Yastrzemski is essentially the same player for the last 6 years.
Right.
And one of those was a truncated season. So his WAR probably, if he would have played the full 100, the full 162, his WAR probably would have been in the 4s or something. So that would have elevated him. So you kind of have to look at it like that too. But I'm taking Pence just because I just think you got to take Pence there.
Yeah. You can't look away from him. I mean, there's no way.
All right, so he picked Torrealba, Jorvit, Joaquin Arias, Andres Galarraga, Gregor Blanco, and Austin Slater as his bench. He wanted to make it a real bench. He didn't want to put the leftover star players on his bench. And then we get to the pitching staff. And this is pretty easy, I think. Lincecum, Kane, Bumgarner, Jason Schmidt, Logan Webb. He makes a case for Vogelsong, but then said Johnny Cueto actually would have had the highest WAR of the runner-ups.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But Vogelsong, again, memorable because of the championships and his ability to come up big in big games for them is very memorable. Because I would have picked Vogelsong over Cueto too, but if you look at their careers, Cueto's the better pitcher by far. So
yeah, for sure. And I think this is the exact same rotation that I sent you when the one from Stark came out, and we said, "Oh, we should do one for the Giants." And I said, "Here's my rotation," and it's an exact rotation. You got to have Jason Schmidt in there.
Yep,
Webb is the guy. You know, I don't know, in 7 or 8 years, maybe it's a little bit different because, you know, maybe Birdsong and Harrison bump out Schmidt. It's possible. But yeah, that's a really nasty starting five that the Giants have had in the past 25 years.